everybody. Welcome to Spoiler Piece Theater, the podcast that doesn't give a shit about spoilers. We just want to talk about the movies. My name is Dave Riedel. My pronouns are he, him. I write for the Chicago Reader, and I'm a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association.
My name is Evan Crean. I'm co-chair of the Boston Online Film Critics Association, co-author of your 80s Movie Guide to Better Living, and my pronouns are he, him.
And my name is Megan Kearns. My pronouns are she, her. I write film reviews for Edge Media Network. I'm a co-host of the Slashers podcast. I, too, am a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association, and I'm a member of Gallica, the Society of LGBTQ Entertainment Critics.
Salute, because nobody
Thank
can
you.
see you do it, so I thought I'd say salute.
Thank
So
you.
this week on Ye Old Show, we got to talk about a couple of movies. But before we do that, I wanted to mention that over on the Patreon, we talk about Miyazaki's My Neighbor Totoro because it's long been on our list. So we did that. If you're a patron, go over and check it out. If you're not a patron, please consider becoming one for $5 a month. You can vote in polls. You can get special bonus audio each week. Yay! And while I'm thinking of it, I want to thank our sponsor piece patron, Heather Sachs. Thank you so much, Heather. Yay.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Heather.
This week on the show, we are talking about the inevitable Dune Part 2 and the inevitable Spaceman. Adam Sandler's latest Netflix flick. Yeah, that's what we got going on. So,
I think he prefers it Spaceman.
Spaceman? Yeah, right. I got some some things to say about that movie, but first we're talking.
Well, I hope
first
so.
we're talking about Dune Part 2, the helpfully named Dune Part 2, just in case you forgot that there was a first part. This is directed by Denis Villeneuve. It's written by him and John Spates, based on Frank Herbert's novel, or the second half of Frank Herbert's novel. I don't know.
Yes, that's correct. It is the second half.
Because I think what happens next in the story, Megan, if I'm thinking about this correctly, is Dune Messiah is the next chapter of the story. Yeah.
Yes. Dune Messiah is the second book.
Which
is set like 10 or 12 years later.
So can't wait for that one to come out. So here's what I mean,
It's not greenlit yet.
Well, based on how much
Who
money this
knows?
makes, which I'm going to go with based on the fucking fanboy fest on IMDb and Letterboxd, it'll be greenlit tomorrow. Paul Atreides unites with Chani and the Fremen while seeking revenge against the conspirators who destroyed his family. Megan, what do you
Yes.
think of Dune Part 2?
Oh, I loved it. End of show. I loved it. The end. Go see it. Yeah. No, I loved it. I mean, I knew I would. It was a good chance because I absolutely adored the first film. I love Denis Villeneuve's work. I'm a huge fan of his. I love the visual storytelling he does. I love the way he incorporates sound, and he always has stunning cinematography. Often has great casts, and I love Timothée Chalamet as Paul Atreides. I think he is the perfect Paul Atreides because, so many people complained about him in the first one. I've talked about it before, so we don't need to really get into it again, but I think he's the perfect Paul Atreides because this is a very privileged kid, and he is a kid, and then he gets so much power that he keeps accumulating like his skills. And in this one really focuses heavily, as does the second half of the book and later the rest of the series. It focuses so heavily on how Stilgar, who's the leader of the Fremen in Siege Tabor, how he's convinced he is the Messiah or the Mahdi or the Lisan el-Gaib, because those are the two words they used to call him the Messiah. And he's convinced. And then Jessica, his mother, who's a fucking awesome character, she's behind the scenes doing machinations, trying to make sure everyone is convinced he is a fulfillment of the prophecy and that he is the Messiah and that he should lead the Fremen. And it ends up basically being a critique on power dynamics and zealotry and religion and colonialism and all of these really fascinating issues. And Paul arguably becomes an anti-hero later on in the series. So I think that the way Timothée Chalamet portrays him and kind of the burden that he has on his shoulders of having all of this, all of these accolades, losing his father, losing, most of his friends and family members except for his mother, and having all of these visions that are kind of scattered. He doesn't have all the pieces to. And then later in the film, he does get the entire visions very clearly because he drinks the poisonous water of life, which is lethal to men. Only Bene Gesserit women, which Jessica is, can kind of contort it and make it work for them. I shouldn't say just Bene Gesserit women, because other women can too, like in the Fremen community, who are the sisters, who are the religious women who become the Reverend Mother. But anyway, it's lethal to men, and he ends up taking it and becoming the fulfillment of the Kwisatz Haderach because he gets access to all the memories from women and men, and he can see the past and he can see the future. So basically, anyway, he's burdened with all of these visions, and he knows terrible, terrible things are going to happen. And he keeps saying throughout the film to Chani, and to his mother, if I go south, I'm, millions of people are going to die. All these people are going to starve. I can't do that. I can't do that. And Jessica is like, no, you've got to unite all these people. And he keeps telling Chani, like, I don't believe in this prophecy. I don't want to be the leader. I don't want to do this. But then basically that is exactly what happens. So because, absolute power corrupts absolutely. And, power is very seductive. And when everyone is chanting your name repeatedly, for a period of time, it's very, very tempting. So, yeah. So anyway, I already was a huge fan of Dune. It's a problematic novel, but it's a great novel. And I loved the film, loved the book. Love Lynch's version, the 1984 Wild movie too, for very different reasons. But yeah, anyway, my very long-winded spiel on this is I loved it. I love Rebecca Ferguson. I think she's a fantastic actor. Love her in everything. Zendaya is great. I love that the film really focuses on Chani because she's such a sidelined character in other adaptations and in the novel. So to really see the focus on her and see her reactions to Paul and people idolizing him, like this outsider who's a white guy coming into this community with black people and brown people. And, he keeps saying like the Fremen need to lead themselves, but then he ends up leading the Fremen and, they're fighting against a colonizing force, but then he essentially kind of is a colonizer. So anyway, I think there's a lot of layers to this. I think it's fascinating. The visuals are stunning. The score is stunning. I think it's epic in scope. I love it. I could keep going on, Dave. Sorry. What do you think? Sorry. I love it so much.
Dave's 2-word review. It's fine.
The end. Done.
I think you have to be predisposed to like spectacle like this, which I'm not immune to. But one thing that has always irked me about Dune, I finally realized this as I was watching this, and I don't know why it took me so long to figure this out, is the fatalism of the story. It's just like, this is what's going to happen. And then you have to fucking watch it unfold exactly. And they kind of turn, now maybe this is in the novel. I don't remember because I read it when I was like 15. So I don't remember anything other than having to go to the glossary a lot.
Yeah. If you watch the movie first, it makes it a little easier.
I do wonder why some people have names like Jessica and Paul, and then other people have names like Rulon and Fade Routha and things like that. But that's okay. That's neither here nor there, I guess, for the purposes of this story. So watching this, it's kind of like, well, I know what's going to happen. So why do I have to fucking watch it happen? Because everything that they say is going to happen happens exactly as they say it does. Yes.
Right.
And then,
sorry, I was going to say, I have thoughts. I'm going to put a pin in it and I'll say it later.
Even though it is being, manipulated behind the scenes by Jessica with her sort of, she's not she's got the, she's putting into place her plan to make Paul be, thought of as the Messiah. Whereas, what's Charlotte Rampling's character called?
She's Reverend Mohaim.
Talk about perfect casting, by the way. My God.
Yes.
I am not a great Charlotte Rampling fan, but when she shows up as that particular Reverend Mother, I'm like, yep, checks out.
Yeah, she is perfect.
Florence
in that
Pugh as, Princess Rulon checks out. I think that there is some very interesting casting in this. Casting Christopher Walken as the Emperor is fucking weird. because he's just Christopher Walken, but a little quieter.
Yeah, he's a subdued Christopher
and
Walken.
it's just really irritating. It's just irritating to like sit there and be like distracted by the Christopher Walken-ness of his performance. Because that's all of his performances. You don't realize it when you're watching The Deer Hunter or some of one of my Heaven's Gate or some of his earlier roles, and you're like, oh no, he's always done the same thing. He's great, don't get me wrong, but he's always done the same thing. So I think just that what this movie has going for it, which makes up for a lot of, I wouldn't call it dead weight. I just would call it it's fine. This is not my kind of story. These are not the kinds of, I don't seek out sci-fi like this. I can appreciate it on a technical level because I agree that a lot of the visuals in this are striking. The whole like weird,
gorgeous,
1939 Nuremberg thing, but on a much larger black and white scale.
Yes.
I mean, watching that, I was just like, well, this is, see, what's the opposite of subtle? Let's go with, let's see. Yeah,
subtle.
Exactly.
As I like to say.
Sledgehammer to the face, I guess. I don't know. But I will also say that I really liked Austin Butler's performance. Basically playing Alexander Skarsgård in Stella, when he was first on screen, I'm like, did they cast him as Skarsgård? No, it's not Bill because he doesn't have the eye.
Is this some new Skarsgård?
Is there a new Skarsgård? I mean, he's got like 5 or 6 kids and 4 of them are actors. So, nope, not him. And then I finally was like, no, I read that Austin Butler's in this. That's got to be him because I don't know him well enough to like pick him out of a lineup, I guess. But I really liked his performance because it's fucking loony in a way that Sting's performance is loony in the David Lynch version, but it's also like, also kind of, it's not a great performance because Sting's not really an actor, although he played one on TV a few times.
I think it's a great performance.
Oh, I do love, I will kill him, but
yes, it's so unhinged and campy. It's mesmerizing. Whereas I know what you're saying. Like Austin Butler is actually doing a better job acting, but I wanted that unhinged. Like, give me that magnetism, and I didn't feel it. So I'm glad you really liked it, though. I wish I had liked it more, but it's fine. I thought his performance was fine. Like, it was solid. It's fine. But I just want to say about, sorry,
I was just going to say,
I have another pin and something.
Well, speaking of pins, I love the whole Lady Margot, Leo Seydoux, seduction scene of Fade Routha, where she tricks him into sticking his hand in the box, and she's got the whatever that dart is right next to it. I was like, oh, because I don't know the source material well enough to be like, oh yeah, she's obviously gonna do the box thing. But when she's like, put your hand in the box, I was like, yeah, you put your hand in the box, pal.
Yeah, she's got to test out, make sure the goods are good, because that's the whole Bene Gesserit breeding program. Because that's the thing, she's told to do that because the Reverend Mohim is telling her to do it, because that's the Bene Gesserit breeding program, because Jessica was originally supposed to have a daughter. Instead, she makes Paul be a boy because Bene Gesserits can control their fertility and their cycles and the gender of their babies. Yeah, and so it was supposed to be her daughter was supposed to get together with Fade Routha's kid. Right. So hence why Lady Margot comes in and gets the goods. So to speak.
Yeah. So the other thing about this is the performances are also, you've got, and I'll choose my words, I hope carefully. You've got Josh Brolin doing a more naturalistic performance, but then you have Austin Butler, very controlled performance.
Yes.
Charlotte Rampling, very controlled performance. Great performance. Don't get me wrong.
Yes.
Timothy Chalamet kind of falling somewhere in the middle. He does not work for me the way that he does for you in these. I'm just kind of, I also kind of think that Paul Atreides is kind of a dippy character. I think that.
Yeah, no, he is. That's why I think Timothy Chalamet is perfect as him. No, I don't like Paul Atreides at all. I think Timothy Chalamet's kind of dippiness, as you say, I think kind of works for a dippy character.
I mean, I think Rebecca Ferguson's great. I think
love her. Adore her.
I think everything done here is done at 100% so much that it's just kind of like, can we ease off? I mean, let's just do 96% for this scene, for Christ's sake.
But why? Why do we need to
I don't
ease
know,
off?
because it just gets to be so much. But at the same time, it's all like the tone of this movie never changes from beginning to end. There's no breathing space. There's no nothing. It's just oppressive as fuck. And which maybe is the point.
Yeah.
But
I think that's the point.
mean, but it's certainly like, it's anti-joy. Let's put it that way. I don't know.
Oh, that's
but then you have Zendaya, who gives a very
experience.
naturalistic performance, you know?
Yes.
So
yes, I love Zendaya. I think she's
and then you
excellent.
have Javier Bardem, who wandered in from the comedy they're shooting on the stage next door. I mean, you know, I mean, just like some much needed laughs, but at the same time, like, don't really fit, you know? So
yeah.
So it's just it's a mixed bag, more on the negative angle for me, but not in a way that it's not in the way that it's like, this sucks. It's just kind of like, it's fine, whatever, you know. It did what it set out to do. Give Denis Villeneuve credit for making decisions and sticking the fuck to them, you know. So
yeah, he's got a vision, and he does. He sees through that
and that
vision.
is one of the things I like about him as a filmmaker. Even if I don't like all of his movies, I think Sicario's fine. I really like Arrival. I think Blade Runner 2049's fine. You
love
you both know how much I like Enemy and Prisoners. So Enemy in particular.
I haven't seen either.
Oh, really?
Anyway, I haven't seen them.
I dug Enemy.
I need to see them.
And then the score in this is it's oppressive in all the right ways. So
yeah, I think I don't disagree. Yeah, I love Greg Fraser's cinematography, and I think Hans Zimmer, you know, is doing his Hans Zimmer thing, just like in the first movie. And just like in many other movies, like Gladiator, it very much reminds me of his score in Gladiator, and in many other things. He has his very distinctive style for.
Well,
epic
he's
filmmaking.
got that huge like thing that he does in every epic movie that he scores.
Yes,
yeah,
he does. Yes,
that's what I refer to it as.
Well, you know, I don't mind that, but at the same time, when I'm seeing it in the Dolby Theater, I felt that in my asshole, and I'm like, oh my god,
this was a loud
like,
movie.
Jesus.
Oh my god. And by the way, I was sitting next to two total dipshits at the movie who were like,
great.
I've never seen them before. They were in the critics row, and like one of them was like, I'm so excited. I've never seen a Hans Zimmer score in a theater. I'm like, who the fuck are you? And get the fuck out of here. But anyway.
Well, maybe they were young.
They were old enough to have seen a movie in a theater. So.
Well, maybe not a Hans Zimmer. I'm going to cut them some slack, whoever these goofs
Well,
are.
they were also Dune fan kids. So they were like talking, I wonder if they're going to be doing this. And it's just like, shut the fuck up.
Yes, come and talk to me. That's right. I'm a Dune fan kid. I keep it to myself when I'm at the
I wish they had kept it to themselves instead of the fucking 8 rows in front of them. Anyway.
But wait, I want to circle back to two things. Actually, one of them I don't know if I could remember. But one of the things I do remember is that you were talking about how obvious it was and not subtle about the black and white kind of, I think you said the Nuremberg visuals, like on Planet, on Getty Prime, which is the Harkonnen home world. Yes. And yeah, it's a choice. It's an interesting choice to do it all in black and white and, you know, and kind of dig into that. And it's obviously an obvious choice too. But it's funny thinking about that because I was having a conversation earlier today about the rise of minimalism in architecture and in interior design and how tied into that is with capitalism and white supremacy and fascism. And so it is an obvious choice, but at the same time, I think that choice really ties in many ways to the real world and what is happening here with the rise of minimalism in architecture and interior design. So for me, it was an interesting choice.
It looks good, but it's at the same time,
it does look good.
Like,
yeah. Well, it's also such a juxtaposition with the beautiful golden hues on Arrakis and like the glittering spice sand and all of that. And so, and kind of the strange, morbid majesty of the giant sandworms and how menacing they look, but kind of awe-inspiring too. And so I think seeing those two planets, it's really a striking contrast. And I can't remember the other pin. Oh, well, I don't know what it was, but I loved the acting in this. And I love that this is at 100 and give it to me. I love that a lot. And yeah, I love a sci-fi spectacle, and I love, sci-fi and horror both. I say this all the time. All art is political. Even apolitical art is making a political statement. But I love horror and sci-fi because they're historically and inherently political genres. And I love that this is really digging in to so many political themes. And really, I couldn't not think of so many kind of current events that are happening while watching this. So yeah, I just love this. And I'm sorry you didn't have the same kind of rapturous experience.
It's funny. It's just, it doesn't, I don't like it. I don't dislike it. It's just like, it's fine. I mean, I've said that 3 or 4 times
weird
now.
To me.
So.
No, I know. It's just, I think that's so weird because I don't know. Maybe that's how I feel sometimes about like certain Marvel films. Like, yeah, it's fine. Like, it's not badly made. It's fine. Yeah, like, and not to shit on Marvel movies or, don't bring up superhero films, but actually I think it's kind of relevant because Paul Atreides is kind of a superhero in, like the way his coming of age story and all these tribulations he's got to go through and all these powers he has. He very much is a superhero, the way he's trained by his mother to do all these things. And then he's like the one dude who can overcome this poison and survive and then get all these special powers and of prophecy. So yeah, he is like a superhero.
Yeah. He does have to be saved by Chani though, and then he tosses the lay woman aside. He does have to be saved
by Chani. Exactly. Yeah. But I think what's interesting is rather, a lot of times we see superheroes when they gain power, they become more benevolent or they become, kinder or they become better people. And that's not really the case with him. Like, he doesn't become a shitty person in this, but he also is clearly becoming consumed by vengeance and power. And I think it's interesting to watch. And I think it's really interesting to see Chani's reactions to that because she clearly is like,
fuck this shit.
Not here for that fuckery. Yes, exactly.
I also think that his character arc, such as it's written here, I don't know how the novel goes, that it just like all of a sudden turns on a dime where he's like, I'm not the Messiah. I'm not the Messiah. I'm the Messiah.
And
it's just like, okay, well, thank you for that, total nuanced arc that we got there from, second 1 to second 2.
Yeah. I will agree with you on that. It does and it felt so abrupt, almost to the point that I was like, I have to watch this again to see if it is really that abrupt or if it was something more subtle that happened but yeah, it feels very abrupt. Like, it doesn't feel like a slow progression. It feels very abrupt.
Now, this is pretty much the last thing I have to say. So David Lynch's Dune, which I do not love even a little bit, but you know what I like? You know what I like about it is the fact that it's so fucking wacky. It's so out
so
there.
Weird.
And people are like, he made Dune? It's like a normal movie. I'm like, are you sure it's a normal movie?
That is not a
David
normal
Lynch. Come on.
Yeah, that is not a normal movie.
This movie has
at
62
all.
different people doing voiceovers. It's fucking crazy, Some of them doing one line of voiceover, So, yeah.
That is true.
Toto did the score. I mean, Christ.
I love that score.
Toto? What?
Yes. By the way, I could go off on a tangent right now about the lead singer of Toto, but I will not. But I love that score. The one thing I will say that I can't believe you haven't mentioned yet, and we haven't talked about this, and I'm very excited to talk about this because I didn't talk about it in my review because I can't reveal spoilers in my written reviews, but I fucking can here on Spoiler Piece. As soon as I heard that Anya Taylor-Joy had a role, and it was a secret role, I'm like, oh, she's
totally,
Alia or Aaliyah. Yeah, depending on how you pronounce, because Frank Herbert said Aaliyah, Lynch said Alia. But anyway, yes, I was like, as soon as I saw that, I'm like, oh, that's who she is. And that is who she is. And she has a cameo in it.
She's in one scene on a beach.
Yeah, but she is. But it's so weird because I can't not think of that character and like her in Lynch's Dune and how kind of creepy she is as like a baby, but like an adult. And
right.
Like, it's very
and
weird.
Who is she played by? She's
She is played by, oh my God, I can't
the
think of her name, but I
redhead
can see
who's
her
and
face.
she's in Twin
Yes,
Peaks.
Alicia
Yes.
Witt. Alicia Witt, yes.
But she's
'Cause I was
got
like,
an
I can see her
adult dubbing her
face.
voice, almost like a weird Mercedes
Yes.
McCambridge kind of thing.
Yeah, so I can understand not having that in this one, because this is a more, I don't want to say sophisticated, but for lack of a better word, sophisticated, classy dude. Whereas David Lynch is like, no, we're digging into all the weird shit. Which maybe that's the thing. Maybe this needs some more weird shit. I don't know. I still loved it, but I would not be mad at some weird shit.
I don't know. It's strangely lifeless to me. So
that's so interesting, because I was riveted by this. It's a long runtime, and for me, the way I judge sometimes a long runtime, it moves, and that's the thing. I didn't look at my phone once to see what time it was. It just was ticking along, and so I was absolutely enwrapped. It was enthralling. I loved it.
Well, I've said all I have to say. How about you?
I think it's great. I loved it. Yeah, I could just keep gushing, but yeah.
Okay. Well, let's move on to our other new movie of the week, the new Adam Sandler movie, Spaceman. That's how you said he prefers it, right, Evan?
Yeah.
Phil Spider-Man, Spaceman. Okay. So Adam Sandler and Carey Mulligan. This is your IMDb summary. Half a year, or a half year, as we would say in proper grammar. A half year into a solo mission on the edge of the solar system, an astronaut concerned with the state of his life back on Earth is helped by an ancient creature he discovers in the bowels of his ship. Interesting use of the word bowels.
That is.
The marketing team
wink,
did a
wink.
little wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Oh, wow. So anyway, this, like we said, this stars Adam Sandler, Carey Mulligan, and Paul Dano as a voice of a fucking ape spider creature thing. I don't know what the fuck. That's what I was talking about. So anyway, listeners, for those of you who give a shit, I was trying to watch this movie yesterday, and it starts, and the first 10 minutes of the movie are all concerned with Adam Sandler's zero-gravity toilet malfunctioning. And I was like, is this whole movie going to be about shit? Oh my God. Did fucking Scaramungo write this? Jesus. And so, it's only the first 10, 15 minutes are about shit. But I mean, that kind of made me just be like, nah, not into it. Because I don't know. Lately, I'm just like, I don't want to fucking hear about your goddamn bowel movements. Fuck me. So there's that. And then this Paul Dano's voice shows up before his character shows up, and I was just like, okay, so Paul Dano's playing the fucking weird character. What a shock. And then he shows up, and he's this disgusting to me. We talked about this on text yesterday. Megan said it didn't bother, his appearance didn't bother you.
No, because spiders don't bother me at all.
It wasn't
I like them.
The spiderness of it. It was his fucking weird face with its 6 eyes, but it's all human mouth kind of. And I was just like, fuck this. So I am going to tell you, I watched 90% of this. I listened to 90% of this and didn't watch it. I couldn't. I was like, I'm not fucking doing this. I'm just not. So if you want to talk about visuals, you're going to have to talk to Megan and Evan, because I don't, I also do wonder why this is obviously based on a Czech novel, and why they didn't, when you have an entirely native English language speaking cast. I know it's the Dangerous Liaisons effect, right? They speak with American accents in that. But in this, they're like, hey, we're in Prague down here on Earth. And it's like, are you really though? I mean, maybe you shot it there, but I mean, Adam Sandler, aren't you from New Hampshire? Jesus. So anyway, I don't really have a lot to say about it, because I couldn't, other than it seems fine. Adam Sandler seems like he was giving a pretty good performance. What did you two think? Evan, why don't you tell us?
Well, it's just funny going into this movie knowing that there was some character that turned you off to the movie, that you weren't watching it. And then when I got into it, I thought, okay, I see what he's saying here. Because I fucking hate spiders. I think they're gross. I don't like looking at them. I almost feel like this movie needs a content warning to anyone who's going to watch it. It's like, guess what? There's a giant fucking spider in this movie, and you're going to have to watch it. You're going to have to watch his face and its eyes, and you're going to have to watch Adam Sandler lovingly embrace it at various points in the movie. So just if that's not your bag, you should probably just like see your way out of this one. Because yeah, it made my skin crawl. But I had less of a problem with it. I was like, I don't like looking at it, but it's fine. I'll watch it. I didn't have to like turn away from the screen or anything. Before I delve more into what I thought about the movie, I do feel like it's important to just get this out of the way because you were talking about the shit in the toilet not working, and I feel like when Shauna and I were watching it, that was like one thing that she got really hung up on, because it was like his toilet's not really working, and he asked for permission, like, can I take mission time to repair this toilet? And they're like, no, the cameras are more important. And then they spend so much of the movie going, oh, hey, we're so worried about his mental health. Like, he's like losing his mind out there. Like, we need to like get his wife to like not leave him, slash, you know, maybe not say that she's leaving him until after the mission. It's like, if you're so concerned about the guy, fix his fucking toilet. Like, it's
Yeah.
a thing that he uses every day. Like, it should be like, it's an easy way to like aid his mental health, is to not make going to the bathroom an essential everyday activity into something that's stressful and obnoxious.
Yeah.
Agreed.
That's what you get when you're
So-
a cosmonaut instead of an astronaut. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. So anyway, so that was one thing that just we kept coming back to, and it was just irksome. But the movie itself, I don't know. I thought it was all right. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it, but I also like don't love movies that are like, I don't know, weird, trying to be weird and also like philosophical at the same time, when the characters are like waxing poetic, floating out in the middle of space in the weird, what they call it, the chopra, the anomaly in the
Yes.
middle of, like, that to me is just not satisfying at all. Like waxing about the beginning of time and the beginnings and the ends and the beads of the, it's just mumbo jumbo stuff that just annoys the crap out of me. It's just like not my kind of movie. That said, like, I like a movie. I like a sci-fi movie. I like that it's set in space in like this kind of floating space station spaceship. I think the art direction I enjoyed. Like, I thought that they used the space well. I think Adam Sandler gives a fine performance because he's just kind of reining it in from his normal kind of like big performances when he's in doing like comedic roles. I think Carey Mulligan's fine. And then yeah, I hated looking at the spider. I found the performance, Paul Dano's performance, also fine. You know, you guys know that I sometimes hate him and can't stand seeing him on screen. I was just
Of
like,
course, he's cast as a spider.
fine.
Perfect.
I
Yeah.
know, right?
This
Yeah.
case, I might have actually preferred seeing him on screen to seeing the spider.
I preferred the spider. I'm no fan of his.
I hated how he ended like every single line with skinny
Ugh.
human. I was like, okay, like, it doesn't need to be like every line that you deliver.
Yeah, you can just call him like Bud or whatever his name is. I don't remember. Johann. Giannis.
Giannis.
No, that's the spider's name, right?
Hanush. They
No,
call him.
his
He
is
calls him
Oh,
Hanush.
Hanush.
okay. Got it.
Hanush.
Yeah, but apparently his species doesn't have names. So
Jakob,
Adam
sorry.
Sandler-
Yeah.
Yeah, Jakob has to assign him a name because he's like, we don't have names. I feel like I actually wanted to know more about his like species and their
Mhm.
customs. I feel like that was a missed opportunity. Like in the beginning, where he's like, we don't touch. That's not like a thing that we do.
Mhm.
That's a boundary. You better not break that. And then when Adam Sandler touches him later and he pins him down, like angrily, the spider like pins him down. I was like, oh,
Man, am I glad I didn't see that scene.
I would
Jesus.
literally, I wrote down in my notes, I would literally die if that happened to me. I would literally die if a
Pass
giant
out.
fucking spider pinned me down. I would just die. So yeah, and then I don't know. There's the whole like spider. I wanted to call it fisheye, but it's really more of like a spider eye perspective as Adam Sandler's like revisiting his memories, and the spider is kind of snooping on them and like looking in on them. I like the idea of, you know, focusing on his loneliness him kind of like losing his mind at first. You're not really sure if the spider is real or if it's a figment of his imagination.
I liked that too.
I liked that aspect of the story. I just didn't feel like it came together. It felt long to me. I don't know. It was just kind of disappointing.
Fair. What about you, Megan?
Yeah, I agree a lot with a lot of what you both have said, and especially you, Evan, talking about how it's very slow. Like I don't normally fault a film for this, but I had to watch this in like 4 different parts. And not because I got busy. I just was like, I have to step away. Like, I'm too bored.
I need a break.
I need a break. And not because I had a problem looking at the spider, because I am clearly the weirdo of the bunch here in that that actually didn't bother me at all. Like, I like spiders. I do not have a problem with them. So I didn't mind that. What I will say is that I agree with you wholeheartedly on the art design and the production design. I read this in a review and I completely agree. It has kind of a slapdash feel to it. Like there's so much tape on things and so many things look like they're falling apart. And obviously the toilet is, which is gross. And I'm trying not to think about that. Like that actually bothered me more than any spider nonsense.
Also fair.
You know,
broken toilet.
yeah, the broken toilet. But but I like that because there's this kind of like weird thing happening. It's kind of grimy there, and then the fact that he's always got to, before like he speaks to people back on Earth in a press conference, he has to, or before anything gets fixed, he has to do like a sponsorship, you know, and has to be a spokesperson for the sponsors, and it's gross. And so there's an interesting commentary happening on capitalism and advertising and mixing with science and space exploration that I find kind of interesting, but it doesn't really get into. You just see it, and I really like that. So I like those things. And, you know, I've seen a lot of reviews that talk about, oh, there's no humor in this. It's like, well, yeah, it's a drama. It doesn't have to have humor just because it's Adam Sandler. Like, that's absurd. No. He does a lot of dramas like Uncut Gems and Punch Drunk Love and the Meyerowitz stories. So, and I think he's actually much better as a dramatic actor than he is as a comedic actor personally. So I think his performance is fine here. And I actually really like esoteric, existentialist sci-fi that's kind of pontificating on, you know, the beginning of life and the meaning of, you know, of all these things, like the mumbo jumbo, as you called it, Evan. But the thing of it is I don't think it does it well. Because there are movies that do it really well. Like, you know, we talked about Denis Villeneuve earlier and like his Arrival. I think Arrival is excellent. And it's looking at time and aliens and memories in a really compelling way. And this film could have done that. And, you know, I like the concept of exploring loneliness because loneliness is something we all at one point or another experience, but it's something that we're kind of indoctrinated to shy away from and to not get comfortable with, even though we're all going to face it. And so I like that idea, again, in theory, that this is what this is exploring and how he pushes people away, and he's pushing his wife Lenka away. And she's just like, I can't be disappearing. I can't wait a moment longer. I've got to leave now. But like, she has a sense of urgency, but then that fizzles out. And I'm like, okay, but like, what happened? Like nothing really, like, yes, clearly there was child loss in their relationship between them, and that's tragic and that's horrible. But I just never felt like everything felt really surface level to me. And if you're going to delve into these really heady, philosophical, weighty issues, I feel like you can't just be really surface level with it. So to me, that didn't work at all. And then it's interesting. So as soon as the spider came on, I'm like, oh, this reminds me of Andy Weir's book, Project Hail Mary, because it's about a guy who is a scientist who goes up in a spaceship, and he's the only one who survives. And then in order to survive, he ends up working with an alien creature that looks kind of like a beetle, like a giant beetle. And his name is Rocky, and he's fucking amazing. And he speaks in like musical notes, and he's really cool. And they have this really cool friendship. And so I had that in my mind, and I was like, oh, maybe this is what it's going to be. And no, and that's fine because it's a different book, different film, totally fine. But the thing of it is you learn about Rocky's planet. You learn about his culture. You like, there's this really cute thing where Rocky like watches the guy sleeping, because that's what you do in his culture, is that you watch people sleep because you don't want them to be unsafe, because something could happen when you're sleeping. And you're right. Other than the not touching, we never learn anything about the spider creature, other than something came and attacked the planet. These creatures, attacked all his people, and they don't do names and they don't touch. That's like it. And like,
right.
I agree with you, Evan. It's a massively missed opportunity where they could have learned about each other's customs. We could have learned about his life. So it's a real missed opportunity. I will say though, when he died, I was fucking crying because it was so moving and sad to me. But yeah, but I think overall, I think this is a good premise, good ideas, but just really missed opportunities.
Yeah, doesn't come together.
No, sadly.
Come together right now.
Over me. But Dave, what did you think from what you heard?
I mean, I think that I probably needed some visuals because, we were just talking about Dune and how I don't really like that type of sci-fi. I do like this type of sci-fi. We did Moon a couple months ago for Patreon. I really liked that. Similar premise in the sense that you have one person alone, very lonely in a place, and then weird shit happens.
Yes.
Which also gets into the more esoteric stuff, because that's about, cloning and are you really you, and what does this all mean? And for this though, this is kind of, in a strange way, I kind of feel like this is the anti-Solaris, like a similar sort of idea about loneliness and existentialism and purpose and all this, but just sort of weighed down by a bunch of like fucking mundane human shit. Yeah, literally in the case of the toilet. And just, I think Carey Mulligan's like all wrong for this role. I don't, just totally not that she's bad, just wrong casting. No. Like, I don't believe for a fucking minute that woman got together with that man, I just don't. And
yeah, they don't seem like a match in like personality wise. I mean, and then you find out that he's like just been a dick and has not learned anything about her or invested emotionally in the relationship. And that is like part of his problem, is that he's just like very surface level with her.
Makes perfect sense.
But she liked that he was ambitious. So I guess if that's, that's what gets her excited.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But other than that, it doesn't feel like they have any chemistry whatsoever.
Yeah. Which, fine. They don't really spend any time together on camera. So at least as far as I can tell.
They do a tiny bit.
Some of the flashbacks and stuff.
I mean, I did once Spider-Man died, Phil Spider-Man. Once he, went off into the great Milky Way in the sky. I started watching again. So I saw like the last 7 minutes. And I just I don't know. It just, I don't know. I prefer my my ruminations on self-centeredness and loneliness to be more captivating with shit I haven't heard before. So
yeah, that's fair.
Kind of that.
Well, I don't know. I think talking about loneliness earlier just made me think about, like, I watched the TV show Catfish, the reality show, and it's like every single one of those situations literally just boils down to someone being so sad and lonely that they're willing to accept and believe ridiculous things because they have someone who's like talking to them and paying attention to them. And I feel like that is like, it is compelling. You're right. It's like we all experience loneliness at some point. It is part of the human condition, and people handle it in different ways. And Adam Sandler's character in this, he's so repulsed initially by looking at the spider creature, but then when the spider creature decides like, oh, I'm done with you, he's like, no, wait, I'll do anything. Stay, please. And it's like, I think that is definitely a compelling and interesting point the movie is making. And the fact that the spider is willing to walk away from him, although I admit, I think Hanush is a little judgy, considering we don't really know what about his backstory and how he is with people. It is interesting that he gets him to reflect on such a deep level that he realizes I've done everything wrong. And
Yeah.
he calls up his wife and is like, I am so sorry. I was a terrible person. It's like, it's not often that in these kinds of movies that you see a character reflect and really just be like, oh God, boy, did I mess up. And like, let me list all the ways I was terrible and like actually mean it, not in a like, I'm just saying this because I'm like, think I'm going to ingratiate myself with you. Even though it does end up ultimately being that way. Like at the end when he's like, so maybe take me back.
Right. Right. Like, I would have preferred if he was just like, listen, you're better off without me. I was not good for you. I was terrible to you. You know, I was really lucky to have you, you know, and best of luck. And I hope I can still be in our child's life. Like, I would have actually really preferred that than kind of the neat, tidy kind of like almost, I don't want to say rom-com, but for lack of a better word, rom-com-y ending. Like, oh, so we can kiss later? Yes. Like, I was like, really? Like, okay, I don't know. Just because you apologize doesn't erase, you know, years of you being shitty. Like, yay,
Right.
that's a 1st step. That's great. But yeah, so.
Well, does anybody have any more shit to spread on this?
I have something to say.
Right.
It's not shit. The highest praise I can give this film is the score is stunning. I love Max Richter as a composer, and I love his scores. The work he's done on The Leftovers, the series, is phenomenal, and I love the score. I think it's very ethereal, very, you know, otherworldly, which I think is a very, very fitting mood for this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And speaking of sound, speaking of sound, one more thing I wanted to say is that Paul Dano's voice is very much a little too space ASMR for me.
Well, you think I would have appreciated the
Yes.
ASMR angle, but no.
I know. I would have.
I think I was just distracted by the Paul Dano-ness of it.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That is fair. But Evan, you were going to say.
I was just going to agree with you about the score. It is very kind
Yeah.
of otherworldly. And it does, I think, give the vibe of like being out in the deeper reaches of space and
Yeah.
the sadness and loneliness.
Yeah. Oh, his scores always nail loneliness so well. Oh, makes me want to go listen to his music right now.
Well, so that was Phil Spaceman, or Phil Spiderman. Funny, a movie called Spaceman has a Spiderman in it. I didn't even think about that, but I can't stop saying that since you told me that they prefer Spaceman. Well, I'm assuming that are we all wrapped up on Spaceman? Spaceman? What if it were called Spaceman? That'd be a better title.
Yeah.
Groovy. Space is groovy.
That's a lost Cheech and Chong movie.
Space
Man.
Okay, so that was a spoiler piece. I think that we have, if I had to venture a guess, Megan, that would be an enthusiastic go see Dune Part 2.
Fuck yeah. Go see it. It's
And
great.
I cannot not, I just, I mean, if you're predisposed to it, fine. You know, if you're like me and you're not, okay. What?
I'm just going to say, I personally, I know I'm biased because I am predisposed. I would argue I think it's worth watching even if you're not predisposed to it.
Interesting.
Because there's high stakes. And I think it's a spectrum. Anyway,
there
I
are
gotta
the
stop
7
talking about it.
houses that they're going to do battle with next. So, or however many houses it is. Okay.
Yep.
So that's where we both come down on Dune Part 2. And how are we on Spaceman, kids? I'm a nay. I'm a hard nay.
Yeah, me too, I think.
I don't know. I'm not a nay per se. But I'm like, I don't know. See it, don't see it.
Nay per se. Yeah.
It's fine. I don't know. It has some good stuff, but yeah, I don't know. I just wish I liked it more.
Yeah. I had this boss who, you would show him like TV producing job, and you would show him what you'd been working on. If he really didn't like, if he had suggestions or edits, whatever, fine. But if he really didn't like it, he would just say, just make it better, okay? And he would leave the room. You never wanted to get that critique. Right. So that's how I feel about Spaceman. So, okay. Want to thank our editor, Otto Clamor, for being a great editor. Otto, thank you for making us sound yay great every week.
Thanks, Otto.
You can find Spoiler Piece Theater anywhere you get podcasts. If you want to go to our website, we're spoilerpiece.com. We're on social media. We're Spoiler Piece Theater on Facebook. We're at Spoiler Piece and all the other places. Your Twitters, your Instagrams, your Letterboxd, your Threads.
Did you just say Facebook?
Did I say Facebook?
You did. You did.
I didn't even notice that.
I'm obsessed.
I saw you making like a motion to me, like, "Hey, wait a minute."
I thought you did it intentionally. Yeah. It was so cute.
I thought so too, given our space theme movies this week.
Amazing.
I guess the spider crawled into my brain like it did, Adam Sandler's at the beginning of the movie. If you want to get in touch, please email us. We're spoilerpiece@gmail.com. Drop us a line. Tell us what you think of Dune Part 2. And Megan, what's the phone number if you want to call us?
You can call us at 86221-PEACE.
Both of them were volunteering to do the number, so I picked one.
Oh, no, I wasn't volunteering. I was poorly motioning to say, you should do that again.
See.
Yeah, I'm realizing now that like my hand was probably cut off when I was like, yeah, you do it.
Yeah, I know. I saw like a little sliver of your hand.
Fair,
anyway.
Fair. Now I know what that was playing out behind the scenes. And so do you, listeners. So if you like the show, please rate and review us by going to ratethispodcast.com/spoilerpiece. You can also rate us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. That really helps us out. If you really like the show, please consider joining our Patreon. As I mentioned at the top, we do talk about the Miyazaki film, My Neighbor Totoro. I can't talk anymore. What the hell? I'm sorry, everybody. And I'm going to put an end to this. My name is Dave Riedel. I write for the Chicago Reader. I'm a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association, and I'm on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, and Threads, and Blue Sky as Dave sees movies.
My name is Evan Crean. I'm co-chair of the Boston Online Film Critics Association and co-author of your 80s Movie Guide to Better Living. You can follow me on social media as Real Recon, and that's real as in film reel.
And my name is Megan Kearns. I write film reviews for Edge Media Network. I'm a co-host of the Slashers podcast. I, too, am a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association, and I'm a member of Gallica. You can follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky at Opinion S World, or on Instagram and Letterboxd at The Opinion S.
Thanks for listening. See you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.